Hi. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming to be with us here at our house today, showing your love and support. The church is the proper place for the committal of the soul up to the care of God. And that's very important. But the church, for reasons of time and practicalities, they would like to keep things relatively short and have one person deliver a eulogy, and that's okay. But you can't do justice to someone's life or sum up their life in those few minutes. And I think it's very important that whoever wants to say a few words about her, anybody who knew her, has an opportunity to say a few words. So that's why we wanted to have this gathering here at our house, and we hope the wind doesn't blow us all away. Sometimes the southeasters gets that way. But okay, I just want to check, Adrian, we're okay on the streaming. So I hope Carol and family are watching us in Sweden, and we share our love and support to you. All right, so there's a few more words I need to say. It's not going to be easy again, but this is part 2. So this is my tribute and a little bit more of an explanation of what has happened, where we've come from and where we are. Right, Andy was an incredibly gifted student and incredibly smart. She wrote extensively, brilliant poetry and even longer pieces of writing up to full novels. She particularly loved the fantasy genre with its amazing, deeply descriptive styles. She was collaborating with her brother Joshua on a book, or maybe more than one book, I don't know. Her writing was incredibly important to her. However, recently, the very strong medication which Andy was on had made it very difficult for her to continue with her writing. This was a particularly harsh blow for Andy. Also, her medication badly affected her ability to concentrate on her studies. When she tried going off the medication, her anxiety levels were extremely high, and that also meant she could not study effectively. She was in something of a no-win situation, it seems. For Andy, her education was immensely important to her, and for a very long time she had been determined to complete her Swedish high school certification. She was behind schedule, as you know. She's 24. On the 15th of January, Andy received some terrible news that she would not be able to complete the maths course she needed in order to attain her Swedish high school certification. Accordingly, Andy felt there was no hope for her to carry on. She gave no prior indication to her mom of what her intention was that night. They had a long, good-natured conversation with normal joking and ended things off on a good note. However, Andy felt she could not go on, and she made the fateful decision that night, or in the earlier hours of the morning, that she would end it. Perhaps the news from Andy's school could have been conveyed to Andy in a different way, with counseling given to her and other alternatives, but whether or not that would have perhaps made a difference, we'll never know. Over the last few years, I had fewer and fewer messages back and forth with Andy, although I did keep on trying. I used to keep sending her a hug emoji, but she said, "Dad, I need space," and I respected that. I told her many times also that she always had a home here if she so chose. I think she loved her mom and her brother and sister in Sweden too much, though, to contemplate making that choice. I tried to be the best father I could be to Andy, but it wasn't really possible for most of Andy's life as we lived so far apart. Still, perhaps I should have done more. I feel the deeper sadness that I missed so much of her life, and particularly that I wasn't there for her at the end of her life. I feel her loss immensely. However, in terms of loss, it would seem that Andy's mom, Carol, has suffered the greatest loss, and this must be acknowledged. It's a simple truth based purely on the length of time that Carol spent in Andy's life, more than any other person. Andy loved her mom very much, that is sure. And of course, Carol's love for Andy was that of a mother for her daughter. It was unconditional. Carol, I acknowledge your loss and how deeply it must be felt, and also acknowledge that what you've been through at this time, dealing with the event itself of Andy's death, I'm quite sure must have been so hard for you that words don't begin to do justice. I wish you and Joshua and Ebba great strength to carry on, somehow. Andy struggled for many years with depression and anxiety. I don't understand either of those conditions, although I have tried. In my attempts to come a bit closer to understanding those conditions, I've thought a lot about the pain of loss. People say that in relation to the pain of loss, it only hurts because you truly loved. Well, if that's true, then I know I loved Andy deeply, because it has hurt very deeply since losing her. It's hurt more than anything else in my life. There's a quote in this regard: grief is the price we pay for love. However, as true as that is, I would still say that, given a choice between grief and nothing, I choose grief. Extending the idea of love as pain, if deep love causes deep pain upon experiencing loss, then perhaps this idea was true for Andy while she was still alive. For her, deep love, firstly for her family, and then perhaps also in a way for the world in general, caused her deep pain, I think. Andy loved the world in an innocent way that was perhaps unrealistic, because as most of us know, going from day to day, the world will not love you back. This is why we build up walls to protect ourselves, and we only let down our guard at certain times and for those we really trust. I think perhaps Andy wasn't so good at building up those walls, and this can certainly be a cruel, cruel world at times. So perhaps in a way it was because of Andy's love that she experienced such pain and ultimately could bear it no more. And that's where I link the words that I wrote on the leaflet: a kind and gentle soul who loved more than this world would allow. Okay. I used to sing a short bedtime lullaby to each of my daughters when they were young, and to end off, I'm going to try to sing it one last time to Andy. In case I can't sing it, because the tears are just too much, I'll ask Adrian to play a recording of myself singing it from a few days before. See, we get to cheat. But who knows, maybe I'll be able to sing it. I sung this lullaby to each of my daughters, and yeah. Kelly's shaking her head like I'm crazy. You fill up my senses like a night in the forest, like the mountains in springtime, like a walk in the rain, like a storm in the desert, like a sleepy blue ocean. You fill up my senses, come fill me again. Oh, come, let me love you, let me give my life to you. Let me drown in your laughter, let me die in your arms, let me lay down beside you, let me always be with you. Oh, come, let me love you, come love me again. Thank you. And the last thing I used to say was, good night, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite. Okay, let's be done now. So I know there are a few people who want to say some things about Andy. And yeah, well, first and foremost of the family. We haven't decided on the order. I don't know who's going to speak first. Kaylee, would you like to? No? Shane's going to. So Andy's stepmom, Shane, my wife, come here, is going to say a few words about Andy.
I hope I can see it now, because my eyes are all a bit blurry. So on the night after Andy died, I had a Cat Stevens song going round and round in my head, and it goes like this: "Oh, very young, what will you leave us this time? You're only dancing on this earth for a short while, and though your dreams may toss and turn you now, they will vanish away like your dad's best jeans, denim blue faded up to the sky. And though you want them to last forever, you know they never will, and the goodbye makes the journey harder still." And following on from this really sad song were all the memories. The curious, kind, and oh so cute little girl that I met at 3.5. The smiling, toothless girl at our wedding. The brave grade 1 girl taking on big school. And then, a little later, even more bravely flying unaccompanied minor between Johannesburg and Cape Town. The brave girl following her father on all his hiking and camping adventures, the tomboy as she was then, the girly girl who also loved to dress up and paint her nails, the playful girl who indulged her 3-year-old sister in endless bobblehead games, and the creative girl, and the incredible poems and prose that just poured out of her. All of our family chats on the phone. And much later, the anxious teen who we so desperately wanted to help. And I'm so very, very sorry, Andy, that we did not know, that we could not comprehend the depth of your pain. But back to that Cat Stevens song. When I went to go and look up the lyrics, I found out that there were a few lines that my brain had forgotten. And these are: "And if you want this world to see a better day, will you carry the words of love with you?" And so, Andy, this is what I choose. I choose love. I choose to remember the love that you had for us and the love that we have for you, both yesterday and today and tomorrow. We will keep on saying your name, Andy, and we will love you for forever. Okay.
There are not enough words in the English language to describe what a beautifully creative and intelligent soul my sister has. Growing up, I adored her, which I'm sure was quite annoying at times. She had this fantastic ability to express herself through words and in such a mature manner. As a child, I was sure that one day I would grasp this concept too, and become just as well-spoken as she was. Unfortunately, I don't think my abilities touch even the tip of the iceberg of her talent, but I'll try for today. My childhood memories of my sister are blurry, and the more I try to reach into my mind to examine them, I can feel them slipping away from me. The photos and videos I've had access to over the last few days have helped aid me in remembering few of these occasions. But still my mind keeps pushing to revisit something, anything. This unfortunate curse has made me cherish the memories I do remember intensely, and I hold them extremely close to my heart. When looking back, I can say with much certainty that her presence and optimism will never leave my memories. She was an amazing older sister who was fighting so many inner battles, but never let me see that side of her. She was a rock in the wind, resilient and strong, waiting and always offering for me to lean on her. This is the Andy I remember. My beautiful sister who painted my nails and helped me do my hair, who introduced me to Harry Potter and made me promise not to tell Dad when she gave me extra chocolates. And while I'm sure, as I grow older, even more of these memories will fade, and as time goes on, be lost as blurred pictures in my head, I know that my mind will never lose or forget that strength and love she had towards me. So in sharing this, I hope that you all can see a glimpse into the version of Andy that I know and love. Thank you.
My tribute to Andy. Sorry. In my tribute to Andy, I'm going to switch between Jessica, or Jess for short, Angela, and Andy as appropriate for the time period I'm talking about. I met Jessica for the first time when she was just a few weeks old. Brandon and Carol were staying in St. Albans in the UK at the time. Carol visited Cape Town with Jessica in winter of 2002, and Jess met all of her Cape Town relatives and extended family on that occasion. We also went for a weekend away to Robertson, I recall, where Carol showed Jess farm animals on the farm we were staying on. I next met her in Scotland in 2004. She was about 2.5 years old. I remember her saying to me, "Uncle Warren, please, I'd like to have some chocolate biscuits." They were on the top shelf and she couldn't reach them. Later in 2004, Jess and family moved back to Cape Town. She attended the Children's Studio Nursery School in Kenilworth. My mom told me a story about how she was taking Jess to school one morning, with Jess sitting in the back of the car, and my mom was reversing the car out of the driveway. And Jess said to her, "Grandma Connie, the car's going backwards." And my mom said to her, "Yes, Jess, it needs to go backwards to get out of the driveway." I remember taking her to the train park in Belvedere Road and pushing her on the swing, and both of us getting a fright when she slipped forwards out of the gap between the bar and the bottom of the swing. But she was fine though. And I can never forget the 2005 Easter egg hunt in the front garden at Columbus Road. We have this moment on video. Jess collected a massive stash of Easter eggs, but there were a few that she had missed though. And we were all watching from the background, and one of us said, "I could see more eggs that you haven't found yet, Jess." And she said, "Then tell me where they are." And in 2007, I met my now wife, Joanna. Jess took an instant liking to Jo. She couldn't pronounce her name properly, though, being 5 years old at the time. She called her Giovanna. And we were in a shop in Pringle Bay while away on holiday, and Jo told Jess off for running in the shop or obstructing the aisle or something like that. And Jess got cross with Jo. She said to her loudly, "Giovanna, I'm not your friend and you're not coming to my party." Though I do clearly remember Jo attending Jess's party in Woodstock in 2007, that same year. That was a fantastic party. Brandon and Shane had organized a jumping castle in their back garden. Shane was pregnant with Kaylee at the time, and could see Jess and all the other girls having fun in the jumping castle and wanted to jump on the castle as well. And Shane's dad, Mike, forbade her because she was pregnant with Kaylee at the time. And Russell told his Arama O Hasi joke on that same occasion. We have all of that on video as well. That was an amazing party. And it was around about 2008 when we were all on a camping trip together, and Jo had walked off somewhere, and Jess said to me in front of everyone else, "Uncle Warren, are you going to ask Jo to marry you?" And I thought about it for a bit, and I said, "Yes, I think I am, actually." On another camping trip, we were busy striking camp, getting ready to leave. Jess brought a blow-up camping mattress to me and said, "Uncle Warren, can you unblow this, please?" I smiled at the beauty with which her logical mind worked. A young child has never heard the word deflate before. So logically, if you blow something up to get air into it, then you must unblow it to get the air out. In a picture that she drew for me, which I still have, she drew herself, me, and Jo. She was the most prominent in the picture and looked like a fairy princess. I was next most prominent, and Joe was tiny and stuck away in the back. She wrote a note to Joe on the picture. "Joanna, you are great. Do not worry. I tried to include you." And I think perhaps this showed an empathic side of her, and how she wanted everyone else to feel included. In 2009, she was the flower girl at our wedding. In April 2010, I took a day's leave from work and took Jess around the waterfront. We did a boat ride around the harbour, followed by lunch at the Spur. She asked for a sweet dessert. It might have been a waffle or something like that, and I ordered calamari for myself. And I remember her deciding that she didn't really like her dessert too much, and she ended up eating most of my calamari. I'll skip ahead to June 2016. Angela was 14 and a half, living in Sweden, and fully fluent in Swedish. She was in Cape Town on holiday. Brandon's family, Natalie's family, my family, and my parents all went for a weekend away to Van Sales Rust country house near Bonnievale. We played the board game Dixit, we went for walks on the nearby farm, and we visited Van Louveren wine farm. When Angela was out visiting, we seemed to find ourselves at Cavendish Square quite often doing shopping. She loved visiting and browsing in the stationery shop Typo, specifically looking at all of their quirky coffee mugs and writing books. In May 2017, Angela came out from Sweden again for a holiday. All of our families had gone for a weekend away. We stayed in the cottages next to the river at Wellshakers near Stanford and celebrated Brandon's birthday there as well. Angela went off paddling on the river one morning and was gone for quite a while. People started to get a bit worried. I took the other boat to see if I could find her. She had paddled a long way down the Kleiner River in the direction of Stanford. When I found her, she seemed to be so peaceful and just enjoying the natural beauty of being out on the river, the birds, the reeds, and the surrounding farmlands. Andy visited Cape Town on holiday again in December 2022 and November 2023. On her most recent visit, we visited Reader's Warehouse together. I bought a book for her, and we went for a coffee afterwards. This was the last time I saw her. To Brandon, Shane, Kaylee, my heart breaks for you. You are such a special family to Andy here in Cape Town. Brandon, you were an amazing dad to Andy, the best dad that anyone could be, even in spite of the geographical distance between the two of you. You filled Andy's visits to Cape Town with exciting activities like camping trips, hikes, beach picnics, ice skating, and a trip to Africa Burn. And for the rest of us who loved Andy, we're left trying to make sense of something that can't be made sense of. I'd like to read a few words from a book about dealing with grief, which resonated with me. We can't change what is, or its effects on us and our view of life. That is all done. If we truly want to carry on from this dark crossroads, we can only try to guide the inevitable changes in ourselves. We would not be who we were if this was something we could get over, or simply carry on from where we left off. And to Andy, I'm so sorry for all the pain and sadness and worry you felt in this life and carried with you. And perhaps it is meaningless to say this, but I think that everyone who loved you would gladly have shouldered some of the burden you carried and tried to help you in any way they could with your load, if it was possible. You are a kind, loving person, an amazing creative writer, and you did some incredible sketches. You are a special niece and the first of my parents' grandchildren. I will miss you more than words can say. You have left a void in my life that can never be filled. I will carry you in my heart and love you forever. Andy messaged me in August last year about music, specifically about a band called Rush. I would like to read out these lyrics from a song called Madrigal by Rush and dedicate them to her. Madrigal is a simple, beautiful love song. When the dragons grow too mighty to slay with pen or sword, I grow weary of the battle and the storm I walk toward. When all around is madness and there's no safe port in view, I long to turn my path homeward, to stop a while with you. When life becomes as barren and as cold as winter skies, there's a beacon in the darkness, in a distant pair of eyes. In vain to search for honor, and in vain to search for truth. but these things can still be given. Your love has shown me proof.
Ron, are you ready to?
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm Carol's dad, Jessica's grandfather. Brandon?
I'm going to play some slideshow of photos which Carol prepared for to be shown while you were speaking. If I can just get them up. Find my mouse cursor first. I lost that. In loving memory of our sweet Andy. Okay, so the photos are, it's a bit glary, but the photos are going on. So two hands.
Okay, carry on. We all feel the pain of Andy's death. It's I have a lump here that doesn't want to go away. Brandon was quite correct. He says, if you love, then you hurt when that person leaves us. We feel that pain. We feel the hurt of Andy's passing. It was a shock to all of us. A greater shock, I must believe, to Brandon and Carol and the children. A painful experience that nobody wants to experience in their lifetime. The minister said this morning that children should bury their parents, not parents bury their children. And this is very true of Andy. We all loved her. We're here because we loved her. And the pain we feel is because we loved her. Shakespeare said a very true word, and I'd like Brandon to take notice of this. He said, love is not love that alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Alas, it is an ever-fixed mark. It is. Death doesn't take away the fact that you loved. You will always love. The love will always be there. Brandon, you were a very good dad. Never doubt that. Carol and the children, you were very good parents and siblings to Andy. She would take that with her wherever she is. If there are two things that I would have liked Andy to hear from us today is that you were loved by many. Many cared about you. Many loved you. Many thought about you. And today that you are gone, even more so. And the other thing I would like her to know from all of us is that God's love and His mercy extends beyond, it's infinite. It extends beyond death. Never doubt that. Always remember that God's love is infinite. It extends to all of us present here as well. Andy had a peculiar character in many ways because she was forthright. She said what was on her mind. Jenny, my wife, looked after the two children, and she brought Andy there one day and to just mix with him and play with him, you know. And she was about, 7, 8 years old, I think. And the lady brought them cone ice creams, each of them. And she said to Andy, "Here, sweetie, here's a cone ice cream for you." And Andy said to her, "Please don't call me that. I don't like anybody to call me sweetie." So now you understand how Andy was. Carol says, Jenny says she used to take Andy for walks in the park when she was about 3 or 4 years old. And Andy would shout across to people that she would meet, "Hello, my name is Jessica. What is your name?" And Jenny had to stop and say, "Shh, don't tell everybody what your name is." She says, "What's wrong? Why can't I tell them my name?" There's a verse of an anthem that comes to mind. Brandon, you don't sing too badly. I thought I'd tell you that. There was a verse of an anthem that I wrote for the choir sometime. You hear my voice is gone. It's from a lot of choir work. I'd like to read it to you. When I read it to Carol, we both started crying over the phone, and I don't cry easily, but yo. God of mercy and compassion, look with pity upon me. Father, let me call thee Father, 'tis thy child returns to thee. Jesus, Lord, I ask for mercy. Let me not implore in vain. All my sins, I now regret them. I will never sin again. Jess, which as Warren says, I have difficulty getting my tongue around the Angie and the Andy and the Jessica thing, so she didn't mind. She says, Grandpa, you call me what you like. We loved her. We were very close to her, and we understood how she was. I think those who were very close, like Brandon and Carol and them, sit today and think, what could I have done differently? But there was nothing we could do differently. Andy's battles were her own. In her mind, in her heart, whatever she felt, they were her battles, and she sorted them out the best way she could. We can only trust in the Lord to give her the comfort and to give us the comfort that we need to know. I didn't trust myself to be able to speak. I think Brandon and Warren and them have a lot more courage than I have to stand and talk and maybe sing in front of the crowd. But there's something that I would like to tell you about. I'm fond of telling the story, but there's a little story about the tightrope walker. It's the last time I ever am going to tell people the story, but there's a story about a tightrope walker. He got his balancing rod, and he went and he got up and he started wanting to walk across the two buildings on a tightrope. And he shouted down to a crowd who had formed there to see what this man was capable of. And he shouted, do you think I can get across? And the people shouted, yes, 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 you can get across. And then he step by step and slowly went across. And when he got halfway, he says to them, do you think I can go further? Yes, they shouted. And then he went further and he got to the other side. And then he shouted down to the people, do you think I can walk back again? And they shouted, yes, 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 you can walk back again. And then he started step by step. He went and he walked back again. And when he got to the other side, he shouted, do you think I can walk back again? And they shouted, yes. So he said, hold on. And he asked his assistant to pass on a wheelbarrow. And when the assistant passed on the wheelbarrow, he put the wheelbarrow on the rope. And he says, do you think I can walk across with this wheelbarrow? And they shouted, yes, yes. And he got with the wheelbarrow, hold of it, and he started walking slowly, step by step. And he went across with the wheelbarrow. And the people cheered when he got to the other side. He says, do you think I can walk back again? And the people said, yes, yes, yes. He says, who would like to get into the wheelbarrow? Deathly silence. You know, nobody wants to make the big sacrifice. Nobody wants to make the big effort. To my mind, Jessica made that effort to get into the wheelbarrow, to get back and not be afraid of saying what she said. Some years ago, she was here, and I always used to ask her, are you managing all right? How do you feel? Are you managing things around you? She says, Grandpa, troubled, things are not so bright, but I'm managing. And I could hear on her talk that she was really struggling. And I took off her crucifix that I wore all the time, and I put it around her neck, and I said to her, Jess, always carry this crucifix with you. Always remember this crucifix. Think of me, think of God when you have difficult times and you feel the crucifix. Carol says she religiously kept that crucifix, to the extent that Carol said to the mortician, will you put this around her neck when she goes for cremation? It is a source of great pride for me to know that she kept that promise that she made, that she was going to keep the crucifix and be able to take it with her in the last steps. There was Afrikaans poet Tertius, whom you probably know about. He wrote a poem about his daughter. He lost his daughter, maybe about 10 years old. He lost his daughter when they were walking out in Highveld in the field. They were walking, and a lightning bolt struck her and she died. And his poem was, ach, sy het nie gesterwe, maar sy was sommer dood. I feel that way about Jessica. Ach, sy het nie gesterwe, maar sy was sommer dood. Thanks, brother.
My dad, Dave. You don't have to just speak.
Is it? Okay. I haven't got very much to say because my memories of Jessica were as a happy little girl, preschool girl, and she made me laugh. And that was what's so terribly sad. When I was first informed about her passing by my son Warren, that was Thursday, a week ago or so, I was so shocked. I'm still in a state of shock. But I just want to share with you why I think of Jessica Andy as a happy little girl. Just two little things that come to mind. The first one was that her Aunt Natalie, she always called her Auntie Natalie, and one day my wife Connie took her into Natalie's room and she says, "Ooh, this is a bumpy room." And another time, I was with Brandon and Jessica, taking her to school. I think she was still in grade 1. And as it happened, Natalie was also her teacher. But she didn't call her Auntie Natalie. She said, she was so upset. She goes, I'm late for school. Mrs. Speed is going to be so cross. So those are the memories I have of her, and they're happy memories. So it's very difficult to think of her not there anymore. And I'm thankful for her memory. So,
Thanks so much, Dad. Okay. Is there anybody else who'd like to say a few words? It's absolutely fine. This is my very good friend Russell.
Apologies for the sunglasses. This is causing havoc on my eyes, this wonderful stretch yet. I don't have a speech. I just would like to share one memory I have of Andy that I thought was such a lovely moment. Probably won't come out so nicely telling it, but it happened about 2 meters that way. And Andy had come to visit from Sweden. I think she had just very recently changed her name, and I think Roland had kind of mentioned that. Roland? Ronald, sorry, Ronald. And so we were all standing chatting, and her grand Connie was there, and Connie called her Jessica. And Andy said, "It's Jessica, Gran." And Connie said, "Oh, my darling, you will always be Jessica to me." And Andy said, "That's all right, Gran." And I think just the way they dealt with that with such love and such respect, it really touched me, and it was such a beautiful moment, and I could see how truly they loved each other. So I know it's a small consolation, but at least Andy and Connie are together in heaven again, so they have reunited. Thank you.
Thanks, Russell. Anybody else? Okay. I think we'll leave it there then. So once again, to Carol and family watching, our love out to you. It can't be easy when you're so far away from all the outwelling of love here. Thanks very much, everyone, for coming. And stay as long as you like. Have a few more eats. And there's loads of food, yeah. So we've got to finish it, or at least take some home. And stay and chat. Okay, thanks.